Welcome to Lore Bytes. In this series, I break down Overwatch story topics and lore topics for you simply and quickly, so you don't have to do the digging. For these videos, I round up all sources of known canon Overwatch lore and add some speculation in as well. If something is speculation, it will be flagged, otherwise assume all of this is canon lore from sources, which I'll cite as well. In this episode, we're taking a look at the background of Overwatch's major companies and corporations, how they fit into the story, and a little speculation as to how they might feature in future. The first we're going to look at is the Vishkar Corporation. The Vishkar Corporation are a construction company primarily, but also seem to have some experience in hard light technology. Following the Omnic Crisis, based out of southern India, they began rebuilding new self-sustaining cities to house the Indian population who had been displaced. Utopia, known to be the home of Vishkar, was created with hard light technology that enabled architects, Vishkar's light-wielding and light-bending hard light users, to shape streets, utilities and living space in the blink of an eye. Symmetra was an employee of Vishkar, rapidly becoming one of their top agents, working on clandestine missions and expanding Vishkar influence around the world. We know Vishkar also from their activities in Rio, in Symmetra's comic. Vishkar pitched for a development against a local architect, sent Symmetra in to find some dirt on the rival, and then, when things don't go quite their way, we see something fairly terrible from Vishkar in that they burn down the favela through an explosion of the rival architect's premises. Vishkar have to step in and complete the development, but Symmetra can see the consequences of their actions from a burned child, who had helped her when she was lost in the city earlier. The other way we know Vishkar, of course, is through Lucio. Lucio led a rebellion and protest against Vishkar after all of the events that we've seen in Symmetra's comic. He ended up stealing Vishkar technology and his sonic amplifier and driving them out of the area. In an interaction between Symmetra and Lucio,
"You should return what you stole from Vishkar."
Stole? You need to go ask your bosses where it all came from, then we can talk.
So if Lucio knows something we don't, it's interesting to know where Vishkar even got this technology from in the first place. Have they been stealing tech, or is it industrial espionage from elsewhere? Next, we're going to take a look at another big Overwatch corporation, Lumérico. After the Omnic Crisis, Mexico needed to rebuild like many other countries. Mexico's infrastructure and power grid was hit pretty hard in La Medianoche, or the midnight, as it's called locally. In the post-crisis rebuilding, Lumérico came to the fore as a company. At the moment, they're constructing nuclear power plants across Mexico to try and create a clean and affordable energy network, or so that's the grandiose goal that they say. Dorado's plant that we see is apparently just complete from a blog article we've seen on the Overwatch site, and that'll be the last in the chain. Lumérico is headed up by Guillermo Portero. He's the CEO, he used to be the president, and apparently he's a war hero from the Omnic Crisis. So, on the face of things, he sounds a pretty good guy, and we've heard nothing to currently contradict that. In a recent interview with Atlas News, Portero said that the dream that he had of restoring the country's infrastructure is now a reality, as apparently he and Lumérico have made this possible. Not the most humble of statements. Apparently, Lumérico are now turning their attention to the future, and to others who might benefit from our country's leadership. It'll be interesting to see who or what that might be. Even in the midst of all of this positivity, all doesn't seem quite well in Dorado and Mexico though. Soldier 76 from his voice lines wants to know what Lumérico have been up to, and also feels that Los Muertos are a cancer on Dorado. Now Los Muertos of course are the gang, we've seen their graffiti in Hollywood, and we also see it in Dorado. We've also seen them feature prominently in Soldier 76's animated short Hero. And an interesting fact, the truck carrying the payload in the Dorado level to the power plant has the same registration as the one shown to be used by Los Muertos in Hero. So why do the number plates match? Is this a coincidence or an accident, or are Los Muertos somehow involved with Lumérico? The second thing of interest in Dorado and with Lumérico is of course what tie the Sombra protocol has to the power plant. As I mentioned in a previous video quite some time ago, before Ana was revealed and before the Sombra ARG had started in the power plant, you can see a lot of signs talking about the Sombra protocol. From a mention of Sombra by Reaper in Ana's second comic Old Soldiers that released recently, we know that Sombra is somehow working together with Reaper and therefore potentially working together with or part of Talon. So how does this tie into Lumérico? Is Sombra just attacking Lumérico, and are Lumérico completely innocent parties in this? That could be possible. It seems less likely now that if Sombra is something to do with Reaper and Talon, that Sombra and Lumérico would be working together, but we'll have to wait and see. We don't know enough to say for sure. It'll be interesting to see whether Lumérico and its war hero ex-president CEO are the victims of Talon and gang interference in this sense, as has kind of been referred to in that general statement in Olympia Shaw's blog, or perhaps doing something a bit more shady on the morality scale. We just can't tell. There's a lot of different parties in play in Dorado, and it'll be interesting to see how it all works out. Next, we're going to talk about Helix Security. Now, Helix are an international company. We know that they've definitely got security contracts in North America, covering at least one ex-Overwatch facility, and also Egypt, with the Anubis AI facility underneath the Giza Plateau, where the Temple of Anubis is set as a map. Helix haven't had the most easy time in recent years. They've had to deal with Soldier 76 raiding Watchpoint Grand Mesa, stealing his signature prototype pulse rifle, although he didn't actually leave any casualties there. Also, Helix have had some problems in Egypt as well. Farah's team in her comic mission statement had to try and recontain the Anubis AI, which was a god AI contained by Overwatch after the first Omnic Crisis. Anubis broke free from its shackles, took over security bots in the area, and threatened to escape into the wild, where it could have caused a lot of problems. Helix actually suffered casualties here, as we've seen, including Captain Khalil, Okoro, and other people in Farah's team. To top it all off, that's not Helix's only problem. We know in Old Soldiers that Hakim or Reaper here are looking to exploit weaknesses in Helix's operations, and depending on the timings of the comics, this could even be referring to the events of Farah's comic mission statement. If Helix don't know what they're protecting, as Reaper says in this panel here, then what are Helix protecting? And if it's the god AI that we've already seen, what more don't they know? We've seen in this panel in Farah's comic that a lot of people seem to have a reasonable knowledge of how dangerous this god AI can be. Maybe there's other things in the facility or other things about their AI that Helix don't actually know. So this international security company certainly have some good personnel, Farah amongst them, but from everything we've seen of Helix so far, it seems as though this private security firm, even though they've got a global reach, don't seem to be enough to fend off enhanced soldiers like 76. They only just contain the god AI, and Talon and Reaper present a very real threat, as well as the potential hacking or information brokering that Sombra appears to be doing that we've seen in Old Soldiers. How are Helix going to move forward? Is Farah going to stay a part of Helix? It'll be interesting to see as well how their role plays out. Next, we're going to cover Volskaya Industries in Russia. Volskaya are a big tied-in part of how Russia dealt with the Omnic Crisis. Russia kind of went it alone, as was said in some Overwatch lore panels back at BlizzCon, and Volskaya were a key part of their defense. The Svatogor mechs are kind of known throughout Russia, as is the company. When you spawn on Volskaya Industries, Zaya comments on how Katya, the CEO, is a hero to the Russian people.
Katya is a hero to my people. We must protect what she has built.
On the Numbani stock ticker, we've seen that Volskaya's share price is down a little bit. We also know from Atlas News that Siberian Omnium is reactivated, and the second Omnic Crisis, as it's being dubbed, is certainly being fought in Russia. We know that Zaya's dropped everything, including her weightlifting world championships, to go home and fight. Even though Russia's on a war footing, it's interesting that the share price is down. As a little aside, normally in times of crisis or conflict, if you're a weapons manufacturer, your share price is probably going to go up. But maybe that's a lack of confidence in the markets in the situation in Russia in general. We know that the second Omnic Crisis, and there are deaths from Omnics around the world at this point in time, according to Atlas News, so maybe investors are a little bit cautious in general. The last one in our main big five is Lucheng Interstellar. Now, Lucheng Interstellar are homed in Lijiang Tower. A lot of near-future visions and different stories see China more involved with space, as the space shuttle program in America, of course, in our world has been closed down, and with private spaceflight and projects like Virgin Galactic and other things coming to the fore. In Overwatch, we see Lucheng Interstellar as a key part of Chinese state-of-the-art space industry. Apparently, it's an organisation with a long pioneering history that's currently pushing the boundaries of space exploration. We can see a pod in Lijiang Tower, in the control centre part that we can also see in Gibraltar, as well as this Wall-E type robot, these spacesuits with different nationalities' flags on, and we can see the history of Lucheng here. Now, I found really interesting this photo on this desk that was added not too long ago of Winston and Dr. Harold Winston. We also see Winston have it in Watchpoint Gibraltar and also in Recall. Were Lucheng's staff or the company itself somehow involved in Horizon's construction or projects? It could totally be possible if they've got a history in space. Lucheng seem involved in this Horizon story somehow. I can't wait to hear more about what's happened to Winston's fellow gorillas on the moon after they sadly revolted and killed the scientists on the mission there, as we heard in Winston's backstory. The whole space part of Overwatch has not been a story that's been massively told so far, apart from through Winston, so it seems like Lijiang Tower and Lucheng Interstellar could be a route to telling some of that in the future, and I'm really interested to see where that plays out. A level on the moon would be awesome, right? Thanks for tuning into this Lore Bytes episode. If you like this video, please take a look at the rest of the Lore Bytes series linked here, or my hero lore and voice lines, as well as interaction series that you can see linked here too. I do a whole bunch of lore videos, comic previews, blog analyses, and everything to do with the story of the world of Overwatch, as well as some guides and fun other stuff too. Cheers for tuning in. Hopefully see you soon. I'm Hammeh. Take it easy.